We're in the Napa Valley in California with Infiniti, driving the all-new QX80.
Does Cadillac and Lincoln have anything to be worried about? Hit it, hit it.
Here we go, twin turbo. Oh yeah.
Do you know what this engine is based on? It's based on the Nissan GTR engine.
Yeah.
Not bad, huh?
Not bad,
All
not
right.
bad at all.
So what's under the hood of this thing, Andrea?
A twin turbo 3.5 liter V6 with a 9-speed automatic transmission, 450 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. Standard all-wheel drive in Canada. In the US, rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options are available.
So the last QX80 had a locking differential. This no longer has that. That's why it's all-wheel drive and not four-wheel drive. It's gone from 7 speeds to 9 speeds. You get 2 more speeds. So there you go.
And it's got 50 horsepower and 103 pound-feet of torque, extra power than the previous model.
So I said 2 gears and you say 103 more pound-feet of torque. I think you won that race.
But gone is the V8.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's get into what do you get with this? What are the key standard features? Luxury, baby.
The base model comes with a 14.3-inch touchscreen with Google built in, wireless Apple Carplay and Android Auto, a 14.3-inch digital driver display, a 9-inch HVAC screen, a head-up display, 3D around view monitor, a wireless charger, the 14-speaker Klipsch premium sound system, power leather heated and ventilated front seats, heated and ventilated rear seats, a heated steering wheel, a motion activated hands-free power tailgate, and remote control rear seats.
So it has a push button transmission, but lots of other stuff. What else can we put it in?
You got to put it in S for subscribe, and if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure to like and subscribe, but also follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrew to see what's up behind the scenes, and also to get a question in. For me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below the like button. So the platform for this new QX80 is a heavily modified version of the old platform based on the Patrol that's sold around the world, made into a luxury product, and they focused on a bunch of different things. 4 key things. What are they? Design
was a huge one. They also wanted the technology to be intuitive to use. They wanted each row to provide the comfort level of a luxury vehicle. And then, of course, how does it drive? They really focused on the drive of this vehicle.
How does it drive?
I really like it. Okay, this is a body.
We're not totally in agreement on this.
We aren't. This is a body-on-frame SUV. I don't like something that is floaty. I don't like something that has super light steering. This is not it. You feel some of the imperfections in the road when you're going over some rougher roads, but when you get to the smooth part, it is smooth. The steering feels good.
Of course, when you get to the smooth parts, it becomes smooth. But
you
listen,
know what I mean.
Okay, so the way you got to look at this is this is a luxury body-on-frame SUV. Is it in the real smooth, insulated, over-refined, you don't feel any road? It is not that. It's the other end of the spectrum. You feel the road. It's got big wheels. It's got good communication through the chassis. It's got heavy steering. It's actually too heavy, in my opinion, in sport. I find it better in normal. And over here as a passenger going over bumpy roads, I find it maybe it's a little too bumpy.
Look, if you want something that is really kind of floaty and
Lincoln,
super comfortable, where you're not going to feel all those imperfections in the road, this may not be the right body on frame SUV for you. But when you watched our Lincoln Navigator,
it was too soft.
It was too soft.
Yeah.
It's too much. The steering is too light.
So I'm not yelling out Lincoln because that's what I think you should get.
No.
I'm just saying that is the opposite extreme of what we have here. So I think that there are others that maybe have a middle ground, but if you like this, and Andrea loves this heavy steering, kind of bumpy, that's right, that's her jam.
That's my jam.
That's why she likes this one.
If I'm going to get a body on frame SUV, that's what I want.
Hit it.
I mean,
the engine is good.
Oh, wow.
Don't pull out in front of us.
You have to pull out in front of us.
Why did he do that?
I don't know. It's
Didn't you see
okay. Now we can talk about the braking. It's very good.
Okay, so so gone is the old V8, and the big reason is, and we all know it, is fuel economy. But
Yeah.
you know what? You get more with the V6. As we mentioned, it's derived from the GTR engine, so you get more torque, more horsepower, more drivable vehicle, 10% better fuel economy,
Yep.
and everyday drivability is better.
Yeah, now there's a couple things when we were driving this. It's been a great drive event around the Napa Valley because there's been a ton of twisty roads, and you can tell that the steering is very good. It's quite precise. I mean, moving such a big vehicle on twisty roads can be difficult at times. This can do it.
But it's interesting, I just want to say one thing, is that
Yeah.
this has air suspension. Typically when you get air suspension, it's maybe too soft.
Yeah.
But they've dialed in the air suspension to give you that firmer ride. And it does have travel in the suspension. You can raise it up for going slow speeds, off-road a little bit higher. But you'll see the pictures of the car parked, and they're all in the, basically the help get in and out level.
Yeah.
And it really slams down. So stepping in and out is no problem.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that when you have the vehicle parked, you can lower it 2.8 inches. When you're on the highway, lower it 1.2 inches. And if you're on rougher terrain, then you can actually raise it 2.1 inches. This gets up to 10 inches of ground clearance. Now, there is, as Zach mentioned, the new electronic air suspension. That's standard in Canada. It's available one up from the base model. And then there's also the dynamic digital suspension, which is something that's new. And it is also standard in Canada, available one up from the base model in the US. And it really monitors the road ahead, making everything a little bit more comfortable for the passengers.
But I asked them, I said, well, it says it monitors the road 100 times a second. And I said, well, that sure sounds a lot like magnetic ride control.
Yeah.
Who's your supplier? Is it magnetic ride control? They didn't have an answer for us, but it has that technology. But this does not, in my opinion, feel as dialed in as the full-size General Motors trucks. I think their suspension, in my opinion, that's just my opinion,
Yeah.
is that sweet spot that we just talked about. Not as firm as this, not as soft as Lincoln. They're kind of the Goldilocks.
And I would have to agree, when we drove the Yukon Denali Ultimate, that is a real sweet ride for sure. There's another new feature. I mean, there's a lot of new things with this QX80, and it's the wide front view. And we had a demonstration. It's pretty cool. You're in such a large vehicle, it is hard to see things on the road ahead of you, especially in those narrow spots if you're going through the same stop sign every day.
Oh yeah, I thought this was really cool. So
Yeah.
at the end of our block, there's a big hedge. And if somebody steps out behind the hedge, you can't see them. And this has the wide view camera that you can project not only onto the center screen, but the one in front of the driver as well. So these big screens. But what's interesting is you can pin it, you can geolocate it. So every single time you come up to that hedge, the front camera comes on and it helps you see around. I thought that was quite clever. So
Yeah.
for me to go and turn it on, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But the fact that it comes on every time I pull up to that hedge, I think that's great.
Automatically. I mean, it's just such a great safety feature. And then there's also an invisible hood. You know, there's a lot of times when you're driving a large vehicle and you can't see what's on the road ahead, and the invisible hood comes into play. You see it on the screen and you're able to maneuver over some of those objects.
Yeah.
We had a skateboard.
We had the head designer we met in New York City, and then we had a designer here last night talking to us about this, and I brought up the RR, the Range Rover, and he didn't bristle at Range Rover, but he says it's their own thing, but I
Yeah.
can see some similarities with the big shoulders and the hidden door handles. Has it got a bit of a Rover vibe?
Man, I think it's so bold looking. Yeah, I think it has a bit of a Land Rover vibe for sure. It's sophisticated, it's elegant, it's gonna have this commanding presence on the road. I think it looks great design-wise. Infiniti nailed it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of detail. So at the front, it's got the piano, they call them piano keys for the daytime running lights. That's mirrored around the back. There's so much detail with this vehicle. The more time you spend with it, you see all of these 3D elements. They spend a lot of time on design.
Yeah.
And I like the big, broad shoulders. And when you stand next to it, it's very high and much higher than, say, a Lincoln Navigator, the top fenders. And when you're sitting here looking forward, it's also an imposing hood.
Yeah, it's a rugged body-on-frame SUV with a touch of elegance. One of my favorite parts is the back. You've got Infiniti spelled out. You've got that red light bar that has 300 LEDs in it. It just looks sharp. The QX80 comes standard with slim LED headlights, the LED light bar in the back, standard 22-inch wheels, a full-size spare tire under the vehicle, flush door handles, and standard running boards.
So another key pillar of the redesign of this QX80 was focusing on the interior amenities. They wanted to be first class on all 3 rows. We're going to show you in the 3rd row just how much space they get. But it is true, Andrea, even in the 3rd row you get full leather, heated 3rd row seats, which is the only vehicle in this class that has that.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive. Even the 2nd row comes standard with heated and ventilated 2nd row seats, which is wonderful to have.
Yeah, but it's also spendy.
It is spendy, but I have to say, actually, once you start comparing this vehicle to other vehicles price-wise, this is actually pretty competitive. You get a lot for your money. I think the inside is beautiful. There is some piano black that I think they could have done without.
Yeah, there's the main thing is it's the screen here in the center that has the HVAC and drive controls on it. And this thing was pristine this morning. Of course, they had it all clean for us. And throughout the day, loads of fingerprints and dust. And this is just the way car companies want to go. I don't love it personally.
No, I really like this pinstripe that's on the side and then it carries over to the dash here. They could have done something like that at the center console, or they could have done like a light chrome to pick that up. I think it would have looked really pretty. They didn't. Here's something that's interesting about all the trims. They all come with a different pattern on the seats. We've got the top autograph trim, so we get the leather semi-aniline seats, and it's in this rich Bordeaux red. Seats are super comfortable in here, and it really has a commanding seating position in this vehicle.
Well, we're not in Bordeaux, we're in the Napa Valley, but that's as close as we're going to get for wine country today. I like the materials for the most part. The only real negative for me is all the piano black at the center console, but the rest of it is very well done. Great seating position, excellent materials, the way it's stitched, put together, as Andrea mentioned, the nice details in the wood. You know what, you're spending a lot to get this, but you feel like you're getting some value.
And I like the storage in here. It has a bit of a floating center console storage. You've got some underneath, you could put a bag. You've got this available cool box in here. The wireless charger is right in the front. A couple cup holders. I do find the side door pockets to be quite narrow. You can put a water bottle in there, but then it gets quite narrow.
We can put one in there. So one of the big deals in the interior of this new QX80 is a partnership with their audio supplier, Klipsch, which is a high-end speaker and audio component manufacturer, and they've developed a stereo for this system, and it comes standard with Klipsch 14 speakers. And what's the high-end one?
24.
24, that's what's in this one. And you get the speakers in the headrest, and we've talked about this with other brands. These don't blast your ears, they just fill in the sound a little bit, but they also provide phone call support. So you can have the music on in the rest of the car, but the person sitting here can have a phone call just in their headrest there.
So we compared this to like our number one that we love, and that's a 36 speaker AKG in the Cadillac Escalade. That is still our top audio system, but this is really great. Very clear and crisp.
So if you look at all the high-end brands with their partnerships, whether it's Macintosh or it's the Revel system from Lincoln or AKG or this, they're all good. You're not going to be disappointed with the sound quality.
Not at all. There's also biometric cooling in here for the rear seat.
What is biometric cooling?
So you get in the back seat as a passenger and it will detect that you are feeling a little bit warmer than what the temperature is in the vehicle, and it will start to cool you off.
I can verify this happened. We were outside shooting, and we're here in the Napa, and it's been hot, and then I had to shoot from the back seat all the stuff in the front. So whenever you see those shots, I'm actually sitting back there, and I got in there, and all of a sudden I felt it got colder. And I'm like, that stuff works. I
It
used a
works.
different word, but I said, that stuff works. And so well done, Infiniti. That's kind of cool.
I think overall the interior is really top notch with quality materials being used. We'd just like to see a little less piano black.
So this is a 3-row, 7 or 8 passenger vehicle with a bench seat or captain's chairs. This one gets the captain's chairs. You slide in, you get pretty good legroom, good headroom. The seats slide fore and aft, and they also recline. How does it stack up?
Just want to say that the captain's chairs are only available on the top trim, and the other 2 trims get a bench seat. If you are looking for a bench seat on the top trim, you are out of luck. So this model has more passenger and cargo space compared to the outgoing model. There's increased knee and foot space in the first and second rows, and significantly more width, knee, and leg room for the third row, making it much more comfortable than the previous model. Car seats can remain in place when the second row seat tips forward.
So Infiniti claims that this has best-in-class third row legroom. I think it's good. I don't have another vehicle here to check it out with, but it has good legroom. It's got good headroom. It has reclining power third row seats, heated third row seats. It's actually really quite comfortable.
Cargo room behind the second row compared to the previous model is up 17% in space. Behind the third row, there's an increase of 28%, and overall cargo capacity is up 6%. Now remember, that's compared to the outgoing model.
We're going to get into all of the specs of this. Fuel economy is important in our vital stats.
Let's start with pricing. We'll do Canada first and then move on to the US. We're using MSRP. The base model starts at just under $105,000, and the top autograph is just under $125,000. In the US, the first base all-wheel drive model starts at just over $85,500. And the top autograph trim is just under $111,000.
Here's the fuel economy for this new V6 turbo. 15.1 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 12.2 on the highway. That's 15.5 miles per gallon city, 19.5 miles per gallon highway. The best mileage we got was 22 miles per gallon combined. This Infiniti can tow 8,500 pounds, and the warranty is 4 years, 100,000 kilometers, or 60,000 miles. In the United States, complimentary scheduled maintenance is covered for 3 years, or 45,000 miles. Now, we found something out. People who buy these kinds of trucks, they really just want it because they want it, and they can afford it. So price really doesn't factor in that much.
No.
So here are the others you can consider, and they're all expensive.
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Lincoln Navigator with a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6, 440 horsepower, and a starting price of almost $121,000.
The Cadillac Escalade with a 6.2-liter V8, 420 horsepower, and a starting price over $115,000.
The Jeep Grand Wagoneer with a 3-liter twin-turbo inline-six, 510 horsepower, and a starting price over $131,000.
The Lexus LX600, also with a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6, 409 horsepower, and a starting price over $119,000.
So there are 4 3-row body-on-frame SUVs for you to consider.
Lightning round, 2 things we like, 2 things we like to see improved.
Well, I love the exterior design.
The powertrain is excellent,
What I'd like to see is just an option of a bench seat on the top trim.
and there's just a little bit too much piano black for me on the inside. Well, there it is. It's the all-new Infiniti QX80. What do you think of that?
Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.